The origins of the Faceless Men. LJ here. I'm looking for someone to debate and feel free to argue with me. Hi, it's LJ. I'm back with another theory about the Faceless Men from A Song of Ice and Fire. A couple weeks ago, I threw up a video titled The Faceless Men Were at the Tower of Joy. I stand by that theory. No one in the comments had good evidence refuting it, and I just think it was pretty well done and solid. I have another theory regarding the origins of the Faceless Men. I have really solid evidence. I'm very excited to share it. So I'm going to start by thanking the people that came before me. First of all, Preston Jacobs. I loved his videos back like many, many years ago. Also, Order of the Green Hand. I listened to him. Their theories were not always accurate, but I really liked the way they thought, and they definitely were like fresh ideas to the community that I think that we kind of needed because it was getting stale. Finally, last video, I didn't know who the British woman was that I used to listen to. I found out it was Gemma from Secrets of the Citadel. She no longer has her videos up, which is sad because I have no idea what a single one was about. I just don't remember because it was so many years ago, but like I know that I listened to her and I was really impressed by her. So Gemma, I don't know what happened to you, but you really inspired me. Loved it. I will pull from books, wiki, other content creators. If I come across them, I haven't been looking at stuff because I don't want to steal ideas. And also, I'm not going to pull from the show because I don't think I don't want to say anything mean. It left a bad taste in my mouth. That's actually why I stepped away from the fandom, is the ending of the Game of Thrones. I didn't love it. A lot of people didn't love it. So there's that. I haven't been listening to content creators in like years. Very recently, I may have taken in a few videos, but I'm trying to stay away simply because I don't want to turn someone else's theory into mine. You're going to realize that the theory I have today is completely original. No one else has said it that I know of, but I haven't really looked. But I'm assuming no one has. I just don't think so because when I was Googling some things, it didn't really come up. So there's that. Okay, so anything else? Okay, so I'm gonna get started. Give me just a moment. Okay. Oh, one more thing. I have a speech impediment, so I apologize if you can't always understand everything that I say, and I can't even understand everything I say myself when I'm listening to my videos. I'm like, what was I trying to say there? Yeah, so sorry about that. It's not going away. Because I don't like talking in front of people, I actually tried spamming like so many content creators to have them do my video. No one replied, and I don't blame them. Like, good for you for setting boundaries like this. Like, nobody goes into your freaking messages like, hey, will you do my theory for me? Like, I totally understand why you ignored me. You probably blocked me, and good for you. So yeah, but because all those people passed, I have to do the videos myself. So it's going to be a struggle session. Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to start by going over what the origins of the Faceless Men are in the texts and the books. And then in a later segment, I'm going to say how I believe we got some of that wrong or misinterpreted it. And I do have a lot of evidence, so I'm not just saying willy-nilly things, but so we're going to start by talking about the original Faceless Man. And with the original Faceless Man, he was in the Valerian mines, and he heard slaves praying and determined that they were all praying to the same person, the many-faced god, which is basically like all the gods of death. One slave in Valeria wished for death, and the original Gangsta Faceless Men granted the wish and called it a gift. And then another slave was praying for the death of a slaver, and he agreed so long as he joined them. So basically, that is what we believe to be the start of the Faceless Men. And I'm going to tell you, I have some weird feelings about this, but I'll go over that later. I'm just going to go over some other things now regarding the Faceless Men, things that we all know. Right now, they're presently based in Bravos. I guess there was an exodus of the slaves from Valeria, and a ship went and landed in Bravos, and that's where they began. They are a religious cult of assassins that do worship the many-faced gods, and in their base, which is the House of Black and White, they have a lot of different deities of death just kind of chilling around. If you become a Faceless Man, you must discard your identity. They are very expensive to hire, and they have this these sayings. I'm not going to pronounce the words that Valar Morghulis and Valar Dorius. I can't say it, but it basically means all men must die, all men must serve. They do not know their target, or they should not know their target. And this part's very interesting. They fillet people, just like the Boltons. I've always kind of wondered if there was something between them. The Boltons are my favorite house in all of Westeros. I have their t-shirts. I've researched the heck out of them. I love the Boltons. I am a big Bolton fan, and I know that sounds weird because everybody hates the Boltons, but I am like so in love with the Boltons. We'll go over that later. Anyway, another thing about the Faceless Men is they practice self-abnegation, which means each devotee believes they are no one with no personal desires, living only to serve the many-faced God. This is very important. They are no one. They don't really have an identity. So I believe that covers the past of the Faceless Men that we read in the text and the future of the Faceless Men. So I'm going to go and stop this segment so we can look at some other things. Claims to fame. All of these are alleged because it's possible someone else did them. Okay, so first, they probably caused the doom of Valyria. Second, they also probably caused the fall of House Rogaire. This is incredibly important because House Rogaire had a bank that rivaled Braavos. It may have even been even more powerful. So if they really did take out this house, which I strongly believe they did, it was probably not due to a contract. It was for their own self-interest, which is super interesting because they are supposed to self-abnegate. They also probably were hired by Sir Denys Hart. I've been reading a lot about that. He supposedly hired them to assassinate a rival in King's Landing, but I honestly cannot figure that out. Maybe I will soon. They very likely took out Balon Greyjoy, and they likely took out Harlan Hoare as well. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you about the Boshi, who worship Bosch, the blind god. Basically, it was a religion that was founded in the Valyrian Freehold a long time ago, over 1,300 years ago. They worship Boshi, the blind god, and they believe that only darkness could open their third eye to see higher truths. They have an emphasis on blindness, basically, which is kind of a running theme throughout A Song of Ice and Fire with people that develop powers. They eat no flesh, they drink no wine, their priests are eunuchs, they believe in extreme equality, meaning men, women, peasants, lords, all the same. They also practice extreme self-abnegation, which is something I talked about a minute ago. Now, this part was confusing to me because it said that they left Valyria at 2 separate times to occupy Lorath, and I finally figured it all out. They left Valyria in 1322 years before the Doom. 1322 years before the Doom, they left Valyria and they made a colony on Lorath in the mazes that were already around. And then another group of Boshi followers left at around 436 before conquest, and they made another, I don't know if they made another colony or if they just occupied the same colony on Lorath. Loth. I apologize for mispronouncing that. So you had 2 different waves, and funny how the second wave came at around the same time that both Braavos was formed and the Faceless Men were formed. So there's that. Over time, the Boshi priests and stuff, they grew worldly and corrupt, and the acolytes were slaughtered when the lower classes rose up in rebellion. Some fled to another great temple on Loratian, which is on an island that has 4 subterranean levels, but eventually they died out. So that is just a basic rundown of the Boshi people and their religion. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a rundown of the similarities between the Faceless Men and the Boshi, which you should have already picked up on many. Keep in mind, Boshi and Lorathi are interchangeable, even though not all Lorathi may be Boshi. It's because they live in the same area and they pick up a lot of the same customs and such. Now, I want you to keep in mind, Jaqen H'ghar is Lorathi. That will help me as I go through these. Okay, so first and foremost, the Lorath nobles regard it as vulgar to speak of oneself directly. That is why Jaqen Hagar says a boy or a girl. Also, the Lorathi and Boshi, they worship the blind god, and they believe that only darkness can open the third eye and see higher truths. And the priests go with like this cowl that covers their eyes. So that's kind of important because they blind Arya for one. But also, blindness bringing about powers is just a common theme throughout A Song of Ice and Fire. And it's not just blindness, sometimes it's just disability in general, like with Bran. So I can see how there is a similarity here with the blindness. And also, this kind of hints that the Boshi might have a lot of powerful people. Also, and this is big, the Bosch believe that all life is sacred. All life is sacred. The Faceless Men believe death is sacred, and that is a duality. And we all know that A Song of Ice and Fire has a lot of dualities. And I just think that that is very subtle and very interesting. And I'm going to talk more about that duality in a minute. Okay. So as I told you, Jaqen Hagar is a Lorathi criminal. He also has one half of his hair dyed one color and one half dyed the other color. And it sounds like a very Faceless Man thing because the House of Black and White. But that's actually not a Faceless Man thing. I am pretty certain, like 95% certain, that that's a Lorathi thing. Why do I think that? Because Jaqen Hagar is not going to want to go around anywhere looking like a Faceless Man. He does not want to be identified as a Faceless Man. So if he is going around talking as he does, self-abnegating, saying a boy, a girl, he's identifying as Lorathi. So his hair would also identify him as Lorathi. He does not want to be associated with the Faceless Men. As I've said, the Lorathi don't use pronouns. They self-abnegate. They say a boy, a girl. This one is not very strong evidence, but I think it's worth mentioning. And that is that Jorah Mormont mentions that Lorath is economically insignificant. Why does that matter? Because we know that the Faceless Men probably have the Bank of Bravos backing them. And so why this matters is there's a lot of duality with things, like one cares about life, one cares about death, one is economically booming, the other one is economically insignificant. Also, like, George kind of drops the weirdest breadcrumbs in the weirdest places. He wouldn't mention the economy of a very vague island area if it didn't matter. I just don't see him being like, well, what random fact can I put in about, Lorath? It's possible he did. Like, he's a very smart man, and he can put whatever he wants into his books, but I just feel like that little line was a breadcrumb. Okay. Also, there are very few coins shown in A Song of Ice and Fire emphasized, and the Faceless Men have a coin. We all know about that coin. And Lorath has a coin. And I'm going to put a picture of that coin up, and I just think that that is pretty significant that they both have coins. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the true origins of the Faceless Men and how I think we've been misinterpreting it the entire time. This all started with one line, and it was that the Faceless Men did not like slavery. And I refuted that line because I just don't think they care about slavery, and here's why. Okay, so I don't think the first original Faceless Man was a slave. I think he was from the Valyrian freehold, and I think he was a Boshi priest. I think he was walking around the slaves being a priest and hearing all of their cries and their prayers for death, and he did believe that they were all praying to the many-faced God. I think he heard that original slave crying for death, and he gave him the gift. And then this is where I think we get it twisted. Slave number 2 is praying for the death of his slavers, and he's like, yeah, I'll do it, but you have to join me. I don't think he joined him in the sense of joining and becoming a Faceless Man. I think that man had to give up his skin. And I think that is the original face wearing of the Faceless Men. It's not the most insightful thing. It doesn't, it's not that significant, but I think that is one little element to it. That was the original face wearing. Okay, so now we're past that. So now I'm going to set the stage of what happened after that. At some point, we know that slaves and people escape Valeria on ships. Some of them land in Bravos. But here's the thing, that happens about 400 BC. There's another group of people that land in Lorth at about 436 BC. I believe either some of the people went to Bravos and then went over to Lorth a couple years later, or I think that maybe it all happened at the same time and it happened so long ago that some of the dates are skewed. It doesn't really matter. So those Faceless Men at around 400 BC went to Bravos and they founded the Temple of Black and White. Important to note, that temple is built on mazes, just as Deboshi lived in mazes. So there's that. But I also want to set the stage in another way. And I want you to think about 400 before conquest. 400 before conquest was a different time in Westeros. There were dragons everywhere and there was magic everywhere. I don't think that there were that many slave Faceless Men. I think the Faceless Men were probably all very magical. I think that the Faceless Men didn't just go and mine for the slaves for Faceless Men at all, because one of the qualifying factors probably at that time to be a Faceless Man was to be magical. They probably had magical people everywhere. They had wargs. They had, people doing lore stuff. They had all kinds of magical people all over the world. So why would they only pick from the slaves? So that's why I said I don't think they care about slavery, because I think most of the Faceless Men were never slaves. And to reiterate that point, the Faceless Men were founded 400 before conquest. And the doom happened at around 122 before conquest. That's over 200 years of the Faceless Men doing their thing without caring about slavery. 200 years. And when they finally did do the doom, which I'm pretty sure they did, but I'm just going to say allegedly, when they allegedly did the doom, it was a contract job. It wasn't to get even. And at that time, probably none of the original Faceless Men were alive, so I don't really see them caring about slavery. It's not like I finally got back at them after 200 years. They were probably all dead or skin husks, I don't know. So I don't really think the Faceless Men care at all about slavery. Also, there's atrocious slavery still happening in Planetos. We have the Unsullied. We have the Volanta slaves that have to tattoo their faces. We have the Dothraki and their slaves. Slavery is literally everywhere. And with the Faceless Men having so many magical people in their ranks, they could have totally disrupted the slave trade many times over. They could have done that and it would have been easy for them. So I think at around 400 BC, they were probably recruiting magical people from all over the world, and they were not recruiting slaves. And so by the time the doom happened, I don't think they cared about slavery. And that is where all of this started stemming from. Is I just heard that one line, Faceless Men don't like slavery, and I'm prove it. Maybe they do. And I'm not even saying that that's a bad theory. It's a very logical theory to think that. But I kept on wondering if it was true. And that is actually kind of what led to a lot of this. So I have some more stuff coming up for you. I just need a little break. So now I get to move on to my tinfoil theory. Okay, so first and foremost, I think the Faceless Men lie about everything. I think they have a secret agenda, and it hasn't been revealed yet. With that out of the way, my tinfoil theory, and that is that Jaqen H'ghar is the original Faceless Man. He is the original Boshi priest. Either him or his skin is the original. Why do I think that? He is the first Faceless Man we are introduced to in the series, and he is Lorathi, and I think that was a huge breadcrumb planted by George to connect the Lorathi to the Faceless Men, and we just didn't do it until now. So I just think it's just a poetic thing that he would be the original Faceless Man, and I think they took out that skin because they knew it was kind of endgame shit coming on. So there's that. Now I'm going to get to this. I actually think there's a lot of evidence to support this. So it is why Jaqen H'ghar was in the black cells. At first I was wondering if it was because he was trying to kill someone at the wall. Don't think so. Was it by accident? Was he arrested? Don't think so. I actually think he was hired by Euron to kill Ned Stark. And here's why. I have it all laid out. So I think Euron Greyjoy is a very smart man, and he has inside knowledge that other people don't have. I think that he wanted to usurp his brother, and he did, using the Faceless Men, but he knew that his brother had an heir, Theon. And you might be like, well, why didn't he want to kill Theon instead of Ned Stark? Well, here's why. Theon's not beloved among the Iron Islanders. He's very easy to take care of. Also, I think Theon is important. I think there's something about Theon that Euron would rather keep alive. So he is pretty sure that he can win in a battle of the King's Moot or whatever it is against Theon. However, what he cannot win is against the North. And Ned Stark and Robert Baratheon had already won against the Iron Islands back like 15 years ago. So, and when they had taken Theon as a fosterling or an honored guest or whatever they're called, like, he knows that he can't take on the North. And if Ned Stark was alive and decided to back Theon Greyjoy for the lordship of the Iron Islands, Euron knew that that would be a really big battle for him. And so he probably wanted to thwart that by offing Ned Stark. Because if Ned Stark was gone, it would be Robb he was dealing with, a very, very young man that may not want to go to war, or, you know, may not get all of his men to agree to go to war. Like, a lot of things can happen with young lords. So I just think that he wanted Ned Stark gone so that the North couldn't rally behind Theon. So I actually want you to fight me about this theory, and the reason is because nobody fights harder and researches more than someone trying to prove someone else wrong. So, like, please just try to prove me wrong, because I know that by saying this and by getting you passionate and by getting you like, no, this isn't true, you're just going to do all kinds of research and you're going to find things that I may have missed. So please fight me on this. Yell in the comments, but make sure you have really good factual evidence as you're yelling at me in the comments, because I would love to hear your thoughts on if you believe that is true. And as far as I know, I have never seen that theory anywhere. Never. Like, I've never seen anyone say that Euron was afraid that Ned Stark would back Theon Greyjoy. I just haven't. Also, there is something else I should add to that. Originally, he wasn't planning on going to the Black Cells. I don't think he anticipated Ned Stark being arrested. Or maybe he did, who knows. Like, I think, like, the Faceless Man was hired to do it, and all of a sudden Ned Stark goes and gets himself arrested, and he's like, oh, I guess I should go in the cells now, so maybe I could kill him there, or kill him on the way to the wall. That's just what I think. It could be wrong. But I think that it's a good thought. I mean, it explains why Jaqen H'ghar would have been in those cells. So, thank you for listening to me. I'm probably going to do another small little tidbit before the end. Thank you. Okay, so I'm back. I never did come up with another tidbit. I stand behind my theory that the original Faceless Man was a Boshi priest that bastardized the religion into the Faceless Men. I would really enjoy it if you came into my comments and told me what I got wrong, or have evidence contrary to what I said, because I'm still cobbling together my Faceless Man theories, and I would really appreciate all the help I could get. Also, I have other Faceless Man theories. I have a lot of theories. Like, I have a Stark theory that I haven't told anyone about. I have a Lannister theory I haven't told anyone about. And it's all supported in similar ways that this video was supported. So it's not just coming from feels and vibes. Some of it, there is factual evidence regarding my theories. Please, please, please come back when I put out my next video, which might be titled everyone's a faceless man, and it's going to go over several people in the story that may or may not be faceless men. I actually think I have found someone in the story that is a faceless man, but I still have to get all my evidence together. But I love that theory, and I can't wait to put that out. I can't think of anything else to say. I'm sorry about the quality of this video. None of my videos are going to be great quality because I'm not going to be a professional YouTuber. I'm only going to put out a couple more videos. I know I say the word think like 5 billion times throughout this video, and it's because I don't like being arrogant and saying that what I'm saying, that what I believe is true, because there's only so much evidence and it may not be true. So I just don't have a lot of confidence. So when I was listening to this, I'm like, okay, how many times am I saying this word? Like, if I were to have a shot every time I said the word think, I'd be dead. So there's that. Anyway, I'm at the point where I'm going to start listening to YouTubes again. Please put the best YouTubes in the comments, and I would love to go and visit them and listen to all the good things. Ciao.